the first fire. Opening, when darkness ruled. The first fire, a Cherokee legend. When the sun set, hope faded, but then the first fire arrived. Before there was fire, the world was nothing but a dark sea of cold and sorrow. In the beginning, when the earth was still soft like fresh clay, when trees had not yet reached for the sky, when animals knew no fear, and humans were merely fragile beings hiding in caves, winter reigned without end. There was no firelight, no warmth, no crackling of burning wood. Only the sound of the wind howling like morning spirits, and the night falling with a bitter chill. In those days humans did not know fire. They ate raw, huddled in the dark. They cracked seeds with stones, wrapped themselves in moss and leaves to keep warm. And when winter swept in, many did not survive a single night. Children turned blue in their mother's arms. The elderly passed quietly in the cold. Every sunrise took with it another piece of hope. They looked up to the sky, praying for a miracle. And then, on a bleak winter night, the sky changed. The wind no longer whistled. It roared like the drums of an angry god. Dark clouds gathered like an army of spirits. The earth trembled. Trees bowed. Every creature lifted its head, for something was coming. The first lightning bolt tore across the sky. A flash of white light, brighter than the full moon. Then, crack! Thunder screamed across the heavens. And the second bolt, the third, all struck the same place, the heart of the great swamp, where an ancient ash tree stood tall amidst the black waters. Then came the final strike, boom! A bolt hit the tree square in its trunk. And then, it began to burn. No one had ever seen anything like it. A golden-orange light erupted like an angry spirit. Fire crawled up the bark, devoured the branches, and crackled with an eerie laughter. It didn't just shine, it lived. It burned. It pulsed like the heart of the earth. The creatures of the swamp screamed and fled. White herons soared into the air. Fish leapt from the water. The first fire had come. It was not made by humans, not birthed by beast. It came from the sky, from the hands of the thunder gods themselves. A gift? A test? No one could say. Word spread through the great forest faster than the winter wind. Birds carried the news among the treetops. Squirrels whistled warnings. Snakes slithered with the message. Owls nodded solemnly. A sign, a sign. The deer herds gathered in fear. Humans turned toward the flickering golden light far beyond the horizon. For the first time in the history of the wild, a great council was called. In a clearing beneath an ancient oak, every creature gathered. From those who flew, eagles, hawks, to those who crept, snakes, turtles, weasels, rabbits. Even the old spirit beasts emerged. Wind-bird, shadow wolf, fire owl. All knew If the fire could not be brought back, the world would stay cold and lost forever. Fire could cook food, drive away predators, warm the night, and light the path through darkness. But reaching it could mean death. Who dared approach the sacred blaze? Who would cross the swamp, thick with sucking mud, venomous serpents, and deadly shadows? Who was swift enough, clever enough, brave enough to bring back a single spark for all living things? The journey had begun. Not with spears, not with might, but with wit, courage, and unity. Each creature would try, each in its own way. Some would fail, some would be hurt, some would not return. But with every attempt, they would draw closer to the light. And so began the first battle between darkness and flame. A legend not just about fire, but about courage, hope, and how the smallest beings can defeat the longest night. Are you ready to hear what happens next? Then follow me into Chapter 1. Lightning strikes the swamp, where everything began. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share the Storylish English YouTube channel, so you won't miss these ancient legends retold in vivid, inspiring language. Chapter 1. Lightning strikes the swamp. Just one lightning bolt changed the fate of the entire world. That night, the sky was torn apart. Bolts of lightning slashed across the heavens like blazing cracks. The wind howled like ancient spirits awakened. Trees bowed under the fury of the storm. And then, in the heart of the great swamp, where no creature dared to tread, a thunderclap exploded like a war drum. Boom! Right in the middle of the swamp, where an ancient ash tree pierced the clouds, the lightning struck like a spear from the gods. In a blink, the entire trunk burst into flames. The first fire was born. It blazed wild and bright, dancing like a living creature. Orange-red light shimmered across the swamp waters, turning night into a blazing day. Sparks crackled, embers flew into the air, and smoke rose with a pungent, earthy scent, curling between the misty tendrils of the night. Every creature in the forest saw it. Fire has come. Whispers echoed from tree branches, stone caves, and muddy banks. But who dares go near it? The fire burned in the center of the great swamp, a place filled with venomous snakes, blood-sucking leeches, deep mud, and thick mist. The burning ash tree stood on a slick, isolated island in the middle of the dark waters. To reach the fire was to step into the realm of death. And so, the council of the ancient forest was called. At the roots of the great oak, the sacred heart of the forest, animals gathered in groups. The old and the young, the feathered, the scaled, the furred. The bald eagle arrived first, folding its wings with solemn grace. Then came the swamp turtle, the night weasel, the wild hare, and finally, the wise owl, the one all creatures respected. We need fire, said the wise owl in a deep, steady voice. "Without it, this winter will be our last. But who will bring it back?" sighed the swamp turtle. "Humans are too fragile, and we've never dared face the fire." A heavy silence followed. Then the black crow spoke up. "I'll go first," it said, eyes gleaming. "I fly fast and weave well. If anyone can swoop down and snatch a burning branch, it's me." No one objected. And so, the black crow took flight, soaring into the ash-gray sky. It flew above treetops, glided through icy winds, pierced the thick fog veiling the swamp. From above, the crow saw the flickering blaze atop the ash tree, like a tiny sun reborn in a frozen underworld. "Just snatch and fly," the thought. As it neared, the heat grew fierce. The air sizzled, scorching its breath. But it didn't stop. It dove, aiming for a glowing branch. And then through it plunged, beak striking the burning wood like steel. Boom! A burst of fire exploded in its face. The crow shrieked in pain. Flames licked its feathers, seared its wings. It flailed, flapping wildly through the heat. The smell of burnt feathers choked the air. At last, it returned to the forest edge, but the once glossy black feathers were now scorched to ashes. From that day on, crows wore midnight black, a scar of sacrifice for reaching the fire. But the crow had failed. The council fell silent once more. Then the green falcon spoke. "I fly faster than the crow. My eyes are sharp as blades. I won't let the fire touch me." All eyes turned again. The falcon launched, shooting like an arrow through the mist. But this time, the fire roared higher and the wind blew hotter. As it neared, the smoke blurred its vision. When it dove, the flames seized its shimmering wings. The falcon screamed, returning to its nest with wings the color of ash. From then on, falcons bore smoky specks. Their sky blue vanished. Once again, fire had triumphed. Others tried. The quick squirrel, the brave rabbit, the silent snake, but none succeeded. Some were burned. Some never returned. Yet in each failure, the fire within their hearts burned brighter. Because even though no one could bring back the fire, belief remained. And hope, like a flickering spark, still lived in the heart of the forest. Which creature do you think will succeed? Let's find out in Chapter 2, The Turtle and the Unexpected Strategy, where slowness might just be the strongest weapon. If this story moved you and you want to continue the journey through these inspiring ancient legends, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to Storylish English, and share to keep the fire of legends alive. Chapter 2: The Turtle and the Unexpected Strategy. Slow, steady, and silent. Sometimes that is the only path to the light. After the shameful defeats of Black Raven, blue falcon, and many others, a heavy silence hung over the ancient forest council. It lingered like fog clinging to tree roots. No one dared speak. No one wanted to risk their life again. The fire still burned, quiet yet proud, in the heart of the deadly swamp. And then, a voice rose from the lowest point in the circle. "I will try." All eyes turned downward. It was the swamp turtle, an old, slow creature, with a shell caked in mud and eyes sunken deep like they had seen centuries pass. Some even chuckled. "You won't crawl out of the shadows before the fire dies out. Or are you planning to collect ashes after it's all gone?" But the turtle said nothing. It simply bowed its head, turned around, and began crawling, step by step, toward the great swamp. This wasn't the first time the turtle had done something no one believed in. In its youth, it survived a brutal drought by digging deep underground to find hidden water. It had lived through 3 floods for forest fires and 5 harsh winters. But never before had it seen a fire like this one. The turtle knew one truth. If speed wasn't its strength, then silence was its weapon. It crawled quietly through wild grass, past fire ant hills, and hibernating snake dens. It made no sound. It drew no attention. It left no scent for the wind to carry. The forest had all but forgotten it was there. By the time the turtle reached the swamp's edge, dusk had fallen. Thick fog wrapped the water like ghostly arms. Frogs croaked, fish splashed, and snakes slithered, making the surface ripple. But from afar, there it was. The fire still burned. The ash tree was now more than half scorched, yet its branches still danced with red flames. Ash flew into the air like black butterflies. The turtle stepped into the water. It swam, not fast, but steady. Its muddy shell shielded it from leeches, snakes, and biting fish. When a snake lunged, it dove deep and held its breath beneath the cold mud. When predators passed, it hid among tangled roots. No one saw the turtle. No one heard it. No one stopped it. And that's exactly why, when it reached the island in the swamp, even the fire didn't know. The ash tree still burned, but some branches had fallen, glowing red on the ground. The turtle crawled closer, its eyes watchful. It spotted a small stick burning steadily, glowing like a coal. Carefully, it turned, opened its mouth, and gently gripped the burning stick with its lower jaw. Then it dragged it up onto its back, resting it safely on its shell. Fire now lay on the turtle's back. No horns, no drums, no applause. Only the sacred silence of night, as the forest's slowest creature had done what no one dared dream. On the way back, the turtle kept its pace, unhurried, unwavering. But the flame on its back was now shielded by a damp, muddy shell. It did not go out. It did not roar. It burned, steady and brave, just like the turtle. When it climbed from the swamp, the whole forest held its breath. Fire! There's fire on the turtle's back. The cry thundered through the trees. Birds soared. Beasts leaped. Wind howled like a choir. Everyone rushed to the swamp turtle, old, muddy, yet carrying a piece of the sun on its back. The turtle had succeeded, and that is how the first fire came to all creatures. Not by strength, not by speed, but by patience, quiet resolve, and unshaken courage. Do you think you must run fast to lead the way? Sometimes, it's the slow and steady path that leads you to the light. Stay tuned for Chapter 3, Humans and the Secret of Fire, where the flame is passed into human hands, sparking a brand new age. If you love this legendary tale, fuel this storytelling journey by liking the video, subscribing to the channel, and sharing Storylish English so that ancient flames may forever burn bright. Chapter 3: Humankind and the Secret of Fire. When light is given, it is also when responsibility begins. The fire has returned to the forest. For the first time, all creatures felt the warmth not from the sun, not from the body's heat. It not only drove away the chill, but also ignited hope in the hearts of every being. The whole forest was bathed in orange light. Birds gathered and sang loudly. Wolves howled at night not out of fear, but as if to sing a greeting to the sacred. The trees bent as if bowing to the fire. And then humankind appeared. As Turtle laid the burning stick down at the center of the forest, a small group of Cherokee emerged from the shadows. They were not tall. They did not have claws. They did not have thick fur like the bear, nor wings like the eagle. But in their eyes was something that made the whole forest pause. Curiosity, desire, and a deep, profound loneliness. The chief, a man with long black hair, sun-baked skin, stepped forward, unarmed, and knelt beside the fire. He did not touch it. He did not claim it. He simply extended his hand towards it, feeling the warmth spread across his skin. And he whispered, "Watto, thank you." The animals of the forest exchanged glances. The birds flew above. No one stopped them, for they all knew this was the moment of destiny. The fire, from now on, would no longer belong solely to the gods or the animals. It would be passed to humankind, a small creature, but one with a heart that could feel. Turtle nodded slowly. The raven hopped onto a branch. The owl hooted, a bell-like sound signaling the change. The fire had a new owner. But no light is without its shadow. Not long after, humankind learned to use fire to cook, to light their path, to ward off beasts. They built stoves, made charcoal, burned the forest to hunt. Fire was no longer just to keep warm. It had become a tool. Then they learned how to make fire from flint and dry wood. The first fire, the fire of the forest, began to fade in the ashes. The animals started to avoid humans. The trees feared the sound of cracking. The birds migrated further away. Fire, the light of hope, could now also become a weapon of destruction. One night, when the sky was moonless, the wind howled through the treetops like the sound of crying. The old Cherokee chief came close to the dying embers of the fire. He sat there, silent, watching the small flame flicker out beside a stone. Turtle, still living though older, approached as well. "Do you remember that night?" the chief asked. Turtle nodded. "We were given fire, but we have forgotten why. We use it as a tool, but we have forgotten that it was once a gift." The chief scooped up a handful of ashes and let it drift into the sky. The wind carried it away, as if it were taking a piece of memory. He continued, "Fire is not just to burn. It is to guide the lost souls, to warm the trembling hearts, and to tell the stories of the earth and sky." Turtle gazed deeply into his eyes. A sad look, but one filled with understanding. Humankind does not need the power of fire. What they need is awareness when holding such power. From that night, the Cherokee kept fire as a sacred ritual. No one was allowed to let the fire die in the night. No one used fire without gratitude. Children were taught about Turtle, about the swamp, about the first fire. During festivals, the elders still told the story of the old turtle carrying fire on its back, traveling across the swamp in the darkness to bring back the first light. It was not just a story. It was a reminder, a lantern guiding those who walked in the night. Have you ever thought, what fire are you holding in your hands? It may be your words, your actions, your influence, like fire. It can warm or burn others. Which way will you choose? Always remember, the first fire came from sacrifice, patience, and love for all living things. And that, my friends, is the full tale of the first fire, a story not only of the Cherokee people, but a lesson for all of humankind. If you feel this story has touched your heart, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and share the Storylish English channel to continue to light up more ancient stories and spread light to those who walk in the dark. Chapter 4. The Flame in the Storyteller's Heart. Every flame that is passed on begins with a story that is told. Generations have come and gone. Cherokee children have grown up by the warm campfire, where elders sit and tell the sacred story of the first fire. Every word, every detail about owl, raven, snake, and turtle is still remembered clearly. No one dares to change or shorten it, because every detail is a message from the past, a guiding light for the future. One night, during a traditional ceremony, a young girl named Amma, whose eyes shone like the crescent moon, approached the village's elder storyteller. Amma bowed respectfully. "Grandmother, I want to learn how to tell the story of the first fire. But I'm afraid I won't tell it as beautifully as you." The elder smiled, a gentle smile like the spring breeze. "Amma, you don't need to tell it like me. You just need to tell it with your own heart. Because the real flame doesn't lie in the words. It lies in the heart of the storyteller." So Amma began to learn. She learned how to sit beside the fire without letting its crackles drown her voice. She learned to look deeply into the eyes of her listeners, as if saying, "Listen with your whole soul." She learned every detail, because each animal, each action, each spark was a symbol of life. And she gradually understood. Storytelling is not just retelling. It is awakening something deeper. Something the listener has forgotten they carried in their heart. That year's festival, the entire Cherokee village gathered. The fire was lit from sacred ashes. The ashes of the first fire kept through hundreds of seasons. Amma stood up. Her hands trembled. But when she saw the hopeful eyes of the community and felt the warmth of the fire surrounding her, she took a deep breath. And then she began. Long ago, when the world was still a dark forest, the first light didn't come from the sun, but from the courage and love of the smallest beings. The circle fell silent. Amma told the tale of Owl, resilient in silence as she crossed the swamp. She spoke of Raven, willing to be scorched black forever to bring back the flame. She shared Snake's struggle, slithering through thorns despite certain failure. And she honored Turtle, slow but relentless, who carried the fire back with her very soul. The flames danced and lit up the faces around. Children's eyes widened. The adults sat still. The elders smiled with emotion, because they realized, though the story was old, each time it was told, a new flame was lit. Not a flame of wood, but a flame within the human heart. After the ceremony, Amma sat alone by the fire. The elder approached and gently placed her hand on Amma's shoulder. "You did it, Amma. You didn't just tell the story. You continued Turtle's mission, bringing light to the next generation." Amma gazed at the fire, her eyes shimmering, and whispered, "I understand now, grandmother. Fire isn't meant to be possessed, not meant to be shown off, but to be passed on as a gift from storyteller to listener." Dear friend, maybe you're hearing this story through a phone screen or from a late-night video. Can you feel it? The flame is burning inside you. You may not see it, but it's there, beneath the ashes of busy days, the worries, of disappointments that made you forget. You once carried a very real light. You don't need to climb mountains, swim rivers, or cross swamps like Turtle. You only need, like Amma, to remember the story and tell it again to a friend, to your child, or simply to yourself, because light never goes out. As long as we remember to tell the story. If you've come this far with me, thank you so much. Help me keep this flame alive by liking the video, subscribing to the channel, and sharing Storylish English with those who need a story that can light up their soul. See you in the next tale, where the flames continue to burn. Chapter 5. When Fire Becomes a Legacy. Fire may have been brought back by the turtle, but keeping it alive is the responsibility of an entire people. Fire had arrived, and with it, the world changed. The deep forests were no longer swallowed by darkness. People no longer shivered through the long, freezing nights. The first sound of happiness wasn't laughter. It was the crackling of wood beside the very first fire. With that flame, the Cherokee cooked their meals, no longer eating raw and drinking cold like the wild ancestors of humankind. They forged tools, baked clay into pottery, lit their paths at night, and even learned to drive wild beasts away with flickering flames. But the greatest gift fire brought was not convenience. It was connection. From that day on, each night, people gathered around the fire, not just to stay warm, but to listen. They retold the journey of turtle, crow, owl, and snake. They passed on lessons like, courage is not about strength. To contribute, one doesn't need to be the fastest or strongest, only sincere and steady. And so, fire became the heart of the community. Not just something that burns, but something that keeps people together. But fire, too, comes with conditions. It is not a gift given forever. If people become selfish, if they stop telling the old stories, if they use fire to destroy instead of to warm, then fire will quietly leave, just as it once arrived. For fire is life, but also a challenge. And those who hold the flame carry the responsibility of keeping its light. Many years later, Amma, the little girl who once told stories, had become an old woman with silver hair. Each year, on the very day the fire was brought back, she would sit in the center of the circle and tell the ancient tale. Children gathered around, curious and full of awe. And at the end of every story, Amma would always whisper the same line, like a final message. Keeping the fire doesn't mean piling on wood. It means keeping the story alive in the hearts of people. Dear friend, we've just traveled together on a journey. Not just the journey to bring fire back to humanity, but also the journey to awaken the light long asleep within each of our hearts. You may not be the turtle. You may not be the crow. You don't need to crawl through swamps or burn your wings to bring fire home. But you can be Amma, the one who retells the story so that the light never goes out. In today's world, noisy, full of social media and little true connection, the fire our ancestors passed down may be fainter than ever. But it's still there, waiting for someone like you to come closer, bend down, and share the story from the depths of your own heart. Because when you tell it, the light will rise again. When you share it, you become a keeper of a legacy no money can buy. The legacy of fire, of memory, and of human connection. Thank you for walking with me to the final chapter of the first fire. If you believe that stories like this are worth keeping, worth spreading, please help me keep this flame burning even farther. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, and share Storylish English with those you love. 'Cause the next fire might just be lit by a single click from you. See you again in the next story, where your heart will once again be warmed by eternal flames.